Hi, for my video presentation, I'm going to be discussing one of my favorite artists, Elliott Smith. And I believe that his story of coming to California has some unexpected intersections that deserve examining. And this is my contribution to the California culture studies from a perspective of someone who has grown up on the east side of Hollywood. So, who was Elliott Smith? He was a singer-songwriter who did not start in California. He started in Portland. He was beloved, but it was a little too small of a town for him. He tried going to Brooklyn first. That didn't quite work out. That city wasn't helpful for him. So he ended up coming to California under the guise that it is a sunny, beautiful, happy state. So I wanted to discuss Elliott because this specific wall on Sunset at the near the Silverlake Junction to me really represents gentrification. Every time I drive by it, it makes me so sad because I grew up in this neighborhood, and this is a beloved wall for anyone who likes Elliott Smith. It was on the cover of his Figure 8 album, which he recorded when he was living in the neighborhood. And it really represented the neighborhood being accessible to just your average Joe. I remember when you could afford to rent there. And it was just a great little music community. As you can see on the right here, this is now what the wall looks like. And it's just sad. They made a bar, restaurant. And to me, I just really see gentrification when I drive by it. A little bit more about Elliott Smith. Legendary indie music icon. He died by suicide in Echo Park, unfortunately, in 2003. Elliott Smith came to California for opportunity. He often played at the Silverlake Lounge and Largo, which was another place in more mid-city. He had a real prolific writing experience when he got here. He actually linked up with Gus Van Sant, and they put his song in the movie Good Will Hunting. He was nominated for a Grammy. A lot of opportunity in Los Angeles. Even though it wasn't really his vibe, he seemed to be doing well here. He linked up with Paul Thomas Anderson, who filmed him, which was actually the beginning of the end, because unfortunately, in that first filming, you could tell that he was under the influence of some substance and not really himself. But more on that later. One of my favorite music videos is the Misery music video, which is the song that he performed for Good Will Hunting and at the Grammys. It really made him a popular artist. It was filmed in the neighborhood that my business is in East Hollywood. It's at Hoover and Lucille. I work about 2 blocks down. I thought it was really interesting watching this video again in a new, with a fresh set of eyes. And you could see the ugly buildings in the background, the stucco. You can see a lot of stucco in these, in this old video. And I thought it was really cool to rewatch this and see what the city was like before so much gentrification came in. This is now a yoga studio back here behind him. And behind that is a vegan restaurant that you cannot buy lunch for under $20. But again, this was in 2000 when the neighborhood was super accessible. So a little bit more about California being the myth versus reality. So he came here to the Sunshine State looking for pure opportunity. He did find it, but he also found drugs and a lot more depression. He was always a depressed individual, but when he got here, it piled on. The connection for me between him losing his life in Echo Park. It was very sad. That's not the reality of what you think of coming to California. This was supposed to take him to the next level, and unfortunately, he didn't see it that way. He delved deeper and deeper into drugs and alcohol, and ultimately died by suicide. A little bit more about just gentrification, and the thing is Silverlake and Echo Park is now very inaccessible to your average Joe. This picture on the screen here on the left is actually under a bridge near my business, where I was paying about, unfortunately, $3,000 in rent. I grew up in this neighborhood. I could no longer afford it. I was displaced. I have to live outside of the city now. Worse than me, I have a home. There's a lot of people who don't, and it's unfortunate because there's these big buildings coming up, and a lot of people are being displaced out of their homes in general. A lot of people are living on the street. They're paying a lot of money for places when right outside there's a lot of people living right on the street. So, I don't know. Elliott Smith for me is a very good way of looking at the it's for me, it's a good reminder of the gentrification of how life used to be. He was this indie pop icon who lived in Silverlake, Echo Park, when it was a time that was very accessible to your average Joe. Looking deeper, he came out here for opportunity in Hollywood entertainment building. Myth versus reality, he ended up, unfortunately, the myth of glamour and health and sunshine was just not enough to bring the dark cloud that was over him, which was the reality of it. And he ended up losing his life in California, unfortunately. Again, the ugly buildings just in the background is a side note, another intersection. Rewatching that classic music video of his, I just saw all these old Art Deco buildings, none of the ugly buildings that were specifically discussed in the article by Wendy Gill Martin, but nonetheless, there are other architectural gems in that building, and I do hope you have the time to watch the music video in the link on the former slide. In discussing all of this, I really brings me back to the gentrification of it all, and it makes me sad because he was our indie hero, and times have changed back to the beginning when we had this, wall. To me, this is just a really sad example of how the neighborhood has changed, because previously nobody would have put a restaurant here just due to respect. And I highly suggest anytime you're in the neighborhood, you stop by and chat with the owner of Solutions next door, because he's also an Elliott Smith fan, and they'll give you a mixtape. So just a little bit about, one of my favorite artists, and looking at California through the lens of his coming here. These are the references that I've used. A lot of great information is found in this film. And thank you for watching.